Hello and welcome back to GameMaker for Beginners, second series on how to create a platformer in GameMaker. In the first episode we looked at how to create a very simple playable level with a simple physics engine. We created some simple scenery and an avatar that could move around it, and that had gravity in the level that would cause the player to drop down if there was nothing beneath it. In this second episode we're going to be looking at scripting. For those of you that haven't come across scripting before, it's a type of coding which is basically a set of commands that tell our computer what to do. It's what we call automation, where we save ourselves, the end user, from manually repeating tasks on a computer program, and we tell the computer to do it instead. So before me you can see here's a sample of GameMaker scripting here, written in GML, which is GameMaker language, GameMaker's native scripting language created by Mark Overmars. And at the moment I'm sure you won't understand much of what's going on, and it can look very confusing, like a mass of text of all different colours. And it's not written in plain English either, is it? So what we're going to do in this first tutorial is we're going to have a look at some very simple coding to get us started. So if we go to our GameMaker project, we can see here's the one we had last week, and we've got the avatar and the wall, and I've created a couple of new sprites before the tutorial began, a star sprite and a live sprite. Those are only very simple, horrible placeholder sprites. I'm sure you'll be able to do much better than I will. And the reason we're going to have those, and the reason we need those at the start of the tutorial is, during this tutorial we're going to create a live system and a collectible star that will destroy itself once we touch it, but make our score go up. So here we go, here's the level as we've got it at the moment. Very basic, very simple. And our little controllable yellow avatar. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to create our star object. So I'm going to right click to create a new object. I'm going to call it star underscore obj for star object, and I'm going to set the star sprite as its sprite, and I'm going to click OK. So we've now got three objects. Let's start with the coding then. So if we go into our avatar, the first thing we're going to need to do is we're going to need to add a create event, and a create event basically says when we first make this object, do this action. Let's drag a coding block in from the control tab on the side over here. So go down to control, and then under the code submenu the first option should be execute code. Drag that over and this will create a blank coding block here. So the first thing we're going to do is we need to declare a couple of variables, and this means we need to say when we first create the object, make these things true. So the things we need is we need to tell it to create a score. We need to say when we first create, so type in score equals 0. Now score is a built-in variable to GameMaker. A variable is something that has different states. It can either be true or false, or it can either be 100 or 99 or 98 or 97. But it's something within the game or the program that we can say has a set number of states, and we can define what those states are. And we can also test them. So score is one variable, and score can have a variable amount of 0 or 1 or 2 or 3. So type score equals 0, a little semicolon, and then lives equal 3. Lives as well is another built-in variable, and that's our live system. So in the create event we've just got score equals 0, semicolon, lives equals 3, semicolon, and click the tick button. So we've created our very first piece of simple code. We've said, right, at the start of the game when we first create the avatar, we've got 3 lives but the score's set to 0. Next thing we need to do is we need to say what happens when we hit the star object. So what we're going to do is go into our step event, go into the code block that's already there from last week where we've got the gravity system and the keyboard controls, make a new line. So go to the end of your code, press the return button, and then on line 3 I'm going to type in the code for what happens if we hit the star object. So to say that if we hit the star object, what we do is we type if, and then type place underscore meeting, open brackets, x, y, and then type in whatever the name of your object is that's the collectible. So like if it's a coin and you've called it coin underscore object, call it call it that there. So mine, I've called it star underscore object. So I've said if place meeting x, y star object, and what that means is if wherever we are on the x and y coordinates, we meet the star object, so we touch it. And then let's open up these brackets. Type score equals score plus 1. So what we're saying there is if wherever we are, the star object is also there in the same x and y coordinates, as in we're touching the star object at our avatar, then take the score and add 1 to it. And add a little semicolon at the end of score equals score plus 1. So that there, we've taken the variable score and we've said the score is now the variable score plus 1. And tick the little tick button. So that means when we hit the star object, our score should go up by 1. So let's tick OK. Let's go into our room now. In your room, go to your objects, select whatever your pickup is, mine's the star. And we'll drop a couple of those in. Click the tick button. Now let's test it, let's see what happens here. So we should now have a live system and a score system, and when we hit the star, the score should go up. So here we go, we're in the game level, previewing it, and when I hit the star, nothing happens, there's no score anywhere, the star's still there. So what we need to do is go back into Avatar, and the first thing we're going to address is drawing the actual score itself. To do this, we need to make a new event, so go add event, go draw, go draw GUI, and the GUI, the GUI, is basically your HUD, your heads-up display, your interface that tells you all your key information for the game. Go back into control, drag over another text block, another code block, and in this one what we're going to type is we're going to type draw underscore text, and then x and y, so the coordinates are wherever we are. In fact, we'll type 0, 0, and score. So what we're saying here is now in the GUI, draw the following text, so draw the score up at x coordinate 0 and y coordinate 0, and that's the top left hand of the level. One other thing we need to do is if we tick that, we also need to make a draw event, so go add event draw, drag over another code block, and we need to type draw underscore self, and then open and close brackets and semicolon. This is basically whenever we make a draw event like drawing the score, we also have to tell GameMaker we still need to draw ourselves the sprite we've selected for our object. So in this case, avatar sprite still needs to be selected. So just to double check, that's draw underscore self, open brackets, close brackets, semicolon. So we've now got two draw things going on here. So let's tick OK and preview the room again. Now what we should be able to see when we go into the room is that we should now be able to see a score of 0, because we said it was 0 at the start in the top left, and here we go, we can see the 0 there. And what should happen now is when we hit the star, the score should go up. And there we go, see I hit the star, the score's gone up to 4, to 10, 14, and every time I hit it we see that their score's going up. So we know that the score system works, but we've got a fundamental problem here, in that the score's going up massively every time we touch the star rather than by 1, and that's because we need to tell the star when we touch the star it needs to destroy itself to stop the score going up and up forevermore. To do that we need to go into the star object itself, so if we go into the star object, and what we're going to do now is we're going to go into the step event, so go add event and go step. Drag over a code block again from the control submenu, so drag over your code block, and what we're going to say this time, if place meeting x, y, and then this time we're going to type in whatever your avatar object's name is, so for me it's avatar or av underscore obj, close brackets, open up another couple of brackets beneath, and type instance underscore destroy. Oh, for some reason I've gone into capital letters there. Instance underscore destroy, open and close brackets. And what we're saying here is, as the star, because we're in the star, if the star meets the avatar, so it touches the avatar object, then destroy yourself, i.e. the star. So instance destroy, open and close. This piece of code here is basically saying destroy yourself. So it's saying if you come into contact with the avatar, destroy yourself. Give that a click, tick OK, and let's preview the level. Well, now what should happen is whenever the avatar object collides with the star object, it should destroy the star object but take the score up by 1 because we had that separate bit of code. There we go. Score's done up by 1, score's done up by another 1, and it's destroying the star object. So we've created a very, very simple score system there, all through coding. Let's have a go now at creating the lives. So if we go back into our avatar object, we've already said in the create event, if we go back into that piece of code, that the lives equals 3 at the start of the game when we first create the avatar. What we need to do now is we need to draw those lives onto the screen so we can see what we've got. So we're going to go back into our draw GUI, go back into your code block where we drew the text for score, and let's create a second code block, and this is going to be a bit more involved. So what we're going to do here is we're going to type if lives equals 1, so if our lives are equals to 1, open and close some brackets, and in the middle type draw sprite, live sprite, or whatever your image is up here for your lives. We type the name of that sprite there. So mine's lives underscore SPR for sprite, and then type 0 for the first image of your sprite, and then we're going to type in 2 coordinates now for where we want the lives to be drawn on screen, and we're typing those in the form of the X and Y coordinates. So I know that mine is going to be 0 on the X coordinate, and it's going to be 20 on the Y coordinate, so just down the screen a little. Close bracket and put a semicolon. So if lives equals 1, so if our lives are equal to 1, then draw 1 sprite at these coordinates here. I'm going to copy that now, and I've pasted it in. And what I'm going to do now is change this second one that I've just copied. Instead of saying if lives equals 1, I'm going to go if lives equals 2. Then I'm going to copy the draw sprite code and paste a second copy beneath, and I'm just going to change the x-axis there to 60. I'm going to copy that, and if lives equals 3, and once again I'm going to copy the last draw sprite to make 3 sprites now, and I'm going to type in 100 there. So we can see, if we quickly dissect this code, we're saying if we have 1 life, draw the sprite for our lives image, which is this one over here, at the coordinates 0 on the x-axis and 20 on the y-axis. If, however, we've got 2 lives, then draw 2 sprites at the 2 coordinates here, so one at 60 across and one at 20 across. If we've got 3 lives, then draw this sprite, and this sprite at these coordinates. And click the little tick button and click OK. Let's have a look then, let's see if that's worked. And what we might need to do is, there we go, so, very terrible. I need to move those across so we can see the live images are there, but they're obviously not very good. So we go back into our draw GUI code, and that's because what we need to do here is I've actually entered the wrong coordinates, so I'm going to go through and change them to all the y coordinates should be 0, and it's these second ones here that should be 20, 60. And what we'll do, we'll actually start it at draw sprite, open brackets, live sprite 0, and then 20, 0, then 60, 0, and then the last one we'll make 100, 0. So they're all spaced out. And let's have a look. And we can see there's our lives there, and they're still a bit off screen, aren't they? So what we need to do is go back into the code and we need to change the Y settings on the image now. So make that 40. So once again, if we've got one life, lives equal 1, draw the sprite for the lives sprite on the screen, draw the first image of the sprite, if it's an animated sprite, so you can draw more than one, draw it at 20 pixels across on the x-axis of the screen, so 20 pixels in, and then 40 pixels down on the screen. So let's see if now we can see fully our live sprites. There we go. Perfect. Excellent. So there you go. We've used coding to create a very simple pickup system of picking up stars for points. We've got a live system that we can then use when we introduce enemies to our game. And let's have a go at doing a very simple enemy. So if we create a new sprite, I'm just going to create a very simple red block, the red block of danger. And we call it enemy sprite. Create a simple enemy object, so call it enemy object and apply the sprite to it. And just like the star, what we're going to do is go into star, go into the step code, copy that code block that destroys the star if the player hits it, get back into your enemy object, click step and paste in that code block, and now we've just very simply said if we touch the avatar, destroy ourselves, destroy the enemy sprite, go into your avatar and in the step item go if place underscore meeting x and y, so i.e. where we are at that point in time, enemy underscore obj, which is new energy I've just made, open brackets and close brackets, and in the middle right, lives equal lives minus 1. Click the little tick, and let's go into our room now. We're just going to place this enemy object somewhere in the room where the player can run into it, just to test that it does in fact make our lives go down. So if we preview this now, we should see that through a very simple bit of coding and through copying and pasting some code and adapting it from what we'd already done for another object to save us the time. There we go, so our score goes up when we hit the stars. And now if you keep your eye on the live sprite, when I hit this now, it should destroy the enemy and my lives should go down by 1. And likewise, if I hit this other enemy, there you go. Perfect. So very simple lives and score system. So that's your very simple introduction to GameMaker language scripting. Your first step on the journey along to becoming a fully fledged coder. Good luck, and I look forward to seeing your stuff. Thank you.